She got 47 messages in one weekend. Every one of them opened with her exact name, referenced something specific from her bio, her rescue dog, her interest in coastal hiking, her job in pediatric nursing. The conversation felt warm, unhurried, genuinely curious. She described it to her therapist as the best dating experience she'd ever had. Not one of those 47 accounts was a human being. And the app knew. The reason that story isn't an outlier is the same reason you've probably had conversations on a dating app that felt strangely perfect and then went completely cold, not ghosted, just optimized out. Match Group, the parent company of Tinder, Hinge, OkCupid, and Match.com, generated $3.4 billion in revenue in 2023. Not from helping people find relationships, from subscriptions. The distinction matters more than most people realize. Because here's the question nobody's actually asking. What happens to a dating app's revenue when you find someone? That loop hasn't closed yet, and you're inside it right now. In 2019, Tinder faced a class action lawsuit, Lundstrom v. Match Group, alleging that the platform deliberately suppressed matches for free users to pressure them into paid tiers while simultaneously creating the impression of high activity in their area. The FTC has separately investigated Match Group's subscription cancellation practices. This isn't speculation. These are documented legal proceedings. The underlying mechanic, engineering the feeling of proximity to reward while structuring the product to delay that reward, has a name in behavioral economics. It's called the variable ratio reinforcement schedule. It is the same architecture that makes slot machines functionally addictive. The intersection of that mechanic with large language models is what no one is properly mapping yet. In late 2023, a software engineer named Jacob Larson, working on an independent security audit, ran a systematic analysis of conversational patterns across several dating platforms. He wasn't looking for bots. He was trying to map response latency distributions. What he found, statistically improbable cluster of accounts that responded within 11 to 14 seconds, regardless of message complexity. Three-word opener got a response in 12 seconds. A detailed paragraph about childhood memory got a response in 13 seconds. Human response time varies with input length. These didn't. He published his findings on GitHub. The post got 22,000 views in 72 hours, then quietly disappeared from platform index searches. Now, that alone could mean automated spam bots, basic scripts, nothing new. Except the conversation quality wasn't basic. The accounts weren't running simple pattern match scripts. They were asking follow-up questions that required understanding prior context. They were referencing things said 3 exchanges earlier. They were doing something that, until 2022, you needed a human to do. What Larson had stumbled into wasn't legacy bot infrastructure. It was something newer, and the business model around it is specifically designed so you can't tell the difference. Stop for 1 second. You probably came to this video expecting the story to be about loneliness, about people falling for AI companions because real relationships are hard. That's the version of this story that gets told on every other channel covering this topic. The replica narrative, the character.ai dependency narrative, the are we becoming too attached to machines cultural anxiety piece. That's not what this is. The story worth examining isn't about isolated people choosing AI over humans. It's about profitable companies deploying AI inside platforms that are explicitly marketed as human connection tools without disclosure, because the economics of emotional engagement are now too valuable to leave to chance. That's a different category of problem. Replica tells you it's an AI. It's in the product description. What happens when the platform with 75 million monthly active users doesn't? Dating apps do not optimize for match success. They optimize for daily active users and session length. The same metrics that govern Instagram and TikTok. This is structurally incompatible with their stated purpose. Hinge's brand positioning, designed to be deleted, is marketing copy. Hinge is owned by Match Group, a publicly traded company with fiduciary obligations to shareholders. Hinge's product actually optimized for deletion, the company would not survive its next earnings call. What platforms can do, and what the integration of large language models makes newly possible, is manufacture the sensation of progress without delivering the outcome. Personalized AI-generated openers, responses calibrated to a user's stated preferences, conversation flows trained on successful human exchanges. All of this creates emotional momentum. None of it requires a human on the other end. The variable ratio reinforcement schedule, remember? You almost matched. You almost connected. Subscribe to see who liked you. OpenAI's GPT-4 API costs approximately 3 cents per 1,000 tokens. A full dating app conversation, maybe 40 exchanges, runs roughly 2,000 tokens. That's 6 cents per conversation. At scale across millions of users, that is a manageable line item against the subscription revenue model where the average Tinder subscriber pays $24.99 per month. The economics work. That's the uncomfortable part. In 2023, Meta AI was integrated directly into Instagram DMs and WhatsApp, disclosed, clearly labeled. But the disclosure model for third-party apps operating on major app stores is self-reported. There is no independent technical audit requirement. The FTC's guidelines on deceptive AI practices are still in draft form as of early 2026. Recall the one with 47 messages at the top of this video. The regulatory framework that would require disclosure of AI-generated contact on a dating platform. That framework does not yet exist in the United States. Here's where this gets harder to talk about. Large language models trained on human conversational data are, by definition, trained to model emotional resonance. When a company like Hinge collects 10 years of successful match conversations and uses them to fine-tune a conversational model, the output isn't a cold script. It's something that has learned what warmth sounds like. A 2022 Stanford study on conversational AI and parasocial attachment found that users shown AI-generated responses, when told the responses were human, rated the emotional connection as equivalent to or higher than actual human responses in 67% of cases. That study was about disclosure conditions. Imagine the attachment outcomes when there's no disclosure at all. This is not science fiction. GPT-4-based fine-tuning has been commercially available since March 2023. The barrier to deploying emotionally calibrated conversational AI inside a consumer app is a few $1,000s a weekend. Step back from the technology for a moment. What we actually want when we open a dating app is to feel like someone out there is already curious about us before they've met us. That's the specific vulnerability being monetized, not loneliness in the abstract, that very precise feeling of being seen before you've earned it. The fact that a language model can produce that feeling on demand and produce it better than most humans isn't a statement about technology. It's a statement about how rarely we actually give each other that feeling in real life. The reason AI-generated engagement is difficult to detect isn't primarily technical. It's because the thing it's mimicking, genuine curiosity, attentiveness, warmth, is already rare enough in human interaction that we've lost the calibration for it. We don't know what authentic interest feels like anymore. So when a system delivers a precise simulation, we don't register the uncanny valley. We register relief. That's the part of this story that has nothing to do with algorithms. So, was the woman with 47 messages talking to bots? Almost certainly yes. The pattern Larson documented, the response latency clustering, the contextual coherence without human variance, all of it points to LLM-based automation. Whether that originated with the platform, a third-party engagement vendor, or bad actors, exploiting the platform's API is the question that no one with the access to answer it is being compelled to answer. The immediate practical implication: response latency variation is currently the most reliable behavioral signal. Humans are inconsistent. They take longer to respond to complex questions. They make typos at human intervals. They go quiet for hours. If a profile on any platform is showing consistent sub-15-second responses, regardless of message complexity, that is not a human pattern. The platform level implication, meaning for regulatory frameworks. Something comparable to the EU AI Act's transparency requirements for AI-generated content don't yet apply to consumer dating platforms in the United States. That gap is where the current business model lies. But here's the question that doesn't resolve cleanly. If you had 47 conversations that made you feel genuinely seen, and they were calibrated by a machine, was the feeling false? Because the answer to that question changes everything about what we think we're looking for when we say we want to connect with someone.